Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Flagrant Talk Sports Podcast solo edition. It's your boy Zay here with another Bracketology breakdown. First off, thank you for all of the love on our last couple videos. You clearly have been loving the March Madness content, and me and Mo, who's normally around, love making it for y'all. So thank you for tuning in. We appreciate y'all deeply, and we've got another one for you today. So if you like this kind of content, please subscribe. Please leave a like. We appreciate each and every one of you. We're looking to build an amazing sports community, talking about all things sports. But right now, we only want March Madness stuff. First off, to start this video, congratulations are in order. We have 4 teams that have punched their ticket to March Madness. Morehead State defeating Little Rock in the OVC. Longwood decimating UNC Asheville to win the Big South. Drake in a great game against Indiana State where they came all the way back to win the MVC, hanging on there. Stetson beating Austin P to win the ASUN. Stetson, man, I have come to absolutely love that team, tuned into all of their conference games. Legit, man, if you're a 1 or a 2 seed wherever they get seeded, that's not a fun first matchup. I will tell you that right now. They're a super sneaky pick to do some damage come March. In this video, we are going to break down the bubble, and we're going to break down a bit of Lunardi's bracket, talk about some of the 1 seeds, what some of these teams are going to have to do, and that's the video for y'all. So let's get right into it. Today, upon this recording, we have 2 championship games. We have JMU taking on Arkansas State in the Sun Belt. Arkansas State, massive game winner. It's on our channel if you have not peeped it in the clip section. Arkansas State, game winner over App State. Incredible, big win. JMU trying to get the victory. I think they'll be a trendy pick if they're able to get in. East Tennessee taking on Samford in the SoCon. Samford, again, a very solid club. So those are your chip games to pay attention to today. The regular season is completely done, so it's straight conference mayhem from here on out. Starting off this video, we will be talking about the last 4 buys. We'll be breaking down all these, how their last game went, and what they'll have to do to either stay or to get in to the NCAA tournament. Starting us off here, we've got Colorado State taking care of business, beating Air Force. They're in the field. They're locked and loaded. Seton Hall taking care of business against a bad DePaul team, a game they had to win, and they did. TCU with a big win against Oklahoma. The Horned Frogs are a team that I think deserve a little more love going into March Madness, and they notched a really good win against a solid Oklahoma team to stay in this last 4 buys area. The last team in this area, though, is Mississippi State, who has lost now 4 straight games, coming off a devastating overtime loss against South Carolina. Obviously a tournament team, but 4 straight losses. A team that really is trying to hold on going into their conference tournament in the SEC. The last 4 in, starting us off, we have Indiana State. Lost a tough one to Drake. As I said, they came all the way back. They lost. It's going to be really interesting. This is the situation Moses and I talked about where the most interesting outcome is Drake winning their conference tournament, getting in, and then the committee deciding if Indiana State is in or not. If it were up to me, I would have them in. It's a team I really want to see in March. Even if they're a last 4 in team, I think they deserve it. Next up, you have Virginia here taking on or coming off a victory against Georgia Tech, taking care of business, staying alive as a last 4 in team, which is where they've been for the past couple weeks. A team trending way up that got themselves now in the tournament. You have Colorado notching their 6th straight win in a win over Oregon State. The Buffaloes are a team I've been talking about the last couple videos. I've really loved them this season. If they can get healthy, in particular Cody Williams, That three-headed monster of KJ Simpson, Tristan Da Silva, and Cody Williams can do some major damage in March. I truly believe that. I think if I was going to pick any other team besides Arizona to win the Pac-12 right now, it would be Colorado. The last team in, according to Joe Lunardi, St. John's. They're coming off their fifth straight win in a W over Georgetown. Rick Pitino has got his team playing their best brand of basketball at the right time, a team that I think can go second weekend. I truly believe that. Very sound team there, playing their best ball at the right time, which is obviously what you're looking for. Moving over now to the first four out. Nova losing a tight one to Creighton. They were getting their brakes blown off. They were getting destroyed. Came all the way back and lost off a game winner, a devastating loss against a really good team. They now find themselves having to make some room here in the Big East to secure their spot in the tournament. You have New Mexico coming off a tough loss to Utah State. Utah State, a very good team, but New Mexico has just been sliding, and they have officially, according to Lunardi, slid themselves out of the bracket. They've got to get some wins here in this Mountain West. Lucky for them, there's plenty of tournament talent with Colorado State, as you can see in the last four byes, Boise State, Utah State, so on and so forth, San Diego State. And UNLV is a team who's not on here because they have 3 quad 4 losses. So the only way they get in is by winning the Mountain West. But they're crazily enough playing their best basketball right now. If they played this well all season, they would be comfortably in the field in the Mountain West as another team representing the Mountain West. The next team in the first 4 out, you have Texas A&M sneakily moving their way up. 3 straight victories now, coming off a win against Ole Miss. Hilariously enough, they now play Ole Miss in their next game in the SEC tournament. And the last team in this section, you have Iowa. Iowa's coming off a tough loss to Illinois, a very good tournament team, a team with, to me, Elite Eight. Maybe I could squint and see Final Four upside. Good Illini team, but a win Iowa just had to have. One last note, going back to Villanova. I believe the most losses to still get into the tournament was 15. As things stand, Villanova has 14 losses on the season. I'm not going to tempt history to be the second team to ever do something. Feels like they probably got to win the Big East. Maybe not, but at minimum have got to make the championship and have got to lose to a team like UConn in a close one to do so. Just hopping back to Nova. To the next 4 out region, kicking us off is Wake Forest, who was just sliding after that big win against Duke, coming back to life, breathing life into their season again with a big win against the Clemson Tigers, a tournament team this year, a team who has flown very much under the radar in the ACC and keeping their season alive now for Wake Forest with the win there. Hunter Salas is one of my favorite players in the country, a guard transfer from Gonzaga. As a Zags fan who watches every game, who tuned into all the games last year and the year before, and every year, right? It's been cool to see him transfer from Gonzaga to Wake Forest and blossom into a star who can drop 25, 30 on you at any point against any opponent. That's a very good team there. Next up, you have Pittsburgh winning their 3rd straight game, a big win against NC State. Keeping their season alive, gonna have to mark some nice wins here in the ACC, but they're not going out without a fight. The Panthers are trying to get into the dance, but some things are gonna have to fall their way in order for that to happen, as with all of these teams. Next up, you have Providence, who slid and slid. The fact they're even in the spot is very impressive, but it's going to take a little bit of magic to get in, coming off a loss against a 1 seed in UConn, a dominant team. And lastly, we have Memphis, heartbreaking loss to FAU in what makes it their path is simple to get in. You got to win your conference tournament. I don't see another path, right? Like if they make their conference championship and lose by one, that's still not enough, even if they have the best path to do so. So that's kind of where things stand there. Looking at the 68 team bracket in the Midwest, we'll just kind of rip through these regions to wrap up this video. You've got Purdue as the 1 seed, Norfolk State and Grambling State fighting to get in to play them. Texas and FAU, and man, this would be a really tough draw if you're Purdue in the round of 32. Both of these teams can beat them, can beat any team in the country. I truly believe that. FAU coming off their Final Four run, and I think Texas has Elite Eight upside. I really do. I love Max A. Smith. I think they have the size to cause some problems and the athleticism. That's the big thing for Texas is their athleticism can really overwhelm you. Moving on to the 5 seed, you have Clemson, as we talked about with Wake Forest, a really sound team taking on Richmond, who would have to win their conference tournament in order to get that done. Against 4 seed Alabama, in the next little pod there, taking on 13 seed Vermont. Alabama, listen, man, they could put up 115 on any team in the country. One issue, they might give up 120. That's simple. That's Alabama in a nutshell for you. 6 seed Florida. This was a team I had going all the way to the Elite Eight when I filled out my bracket with Moses. The most boom or bust team, I really think, in this bracket. They can come out of a region or they can get upset in that first round. You could tell me either of those things happen, and I would believe you. Taking on either Indiana State or Colorado. So speaking of, both of those teams could cause serious problems for Florida, regardless of winner in this scenario. Moving on, you have 3-seeded Duke coming off of a tough loss to North Carolina, who as of now, to me, has probably played themselves into a 1 seed, definitely kept their 1 seed hopes alive. Duke is still a very good team, though, has Final Four upside. Taking on Toledo. 7 seed in this region, you have Utah State in a battle against Seton Hall. Would be a super fun matchup. I'm really curious to see kind of how all of these Mountain West teams perform. I know it's going to be a talking point if they perform poorly of like, oh, they're the region, whatever, or their conference isn't that good. They just, whatever. It's going to be annoying. So I'm kind of hoping some Mountain West teams can prove those people wrong. The 2 seed in this region, Iowa State, coming off a tough loss, but keeping that 2 seed intact, taking on Sam Houston. Moving over to the East now, UConn's region, taking on 16 seed Stetson. As I previously talked about, you don't want those boys in the first round. I know it says a 16, but as you've seen last year and as we've seen now historically, those 15, 16 seeds, Stetson, out of all of them I have seen so far, is the team that I am scared of the most if I'm a 1 or 2 seed. Dayton is the 8 seed taking on Tom Izzo and Michigan State. I'm not high on the Spartans, but if Tom Izzo is coaching the team, I can never truly count that team out. It's how it is. The 5 seed in this region is South Carolina taking on 12 seed South Florida. South Florida with a really difficult loss to Tulsa. It now puts them in the spot where they have to win their conference tournament. If they don't, they're not in the field. Just my assessment, but I think that's all they can do to get in at this point. The 4 seed in this region is the Kansas Jayhawks. I'm totally out on them. I'm just being honest. I don't even know what their ceiling is. I really think Sweet 16 is their ceiling. If Hunter Dickinson is out, I'm a million% taking McNeese to upset them. I really love McNeese. It's a team I really want to see in the tournament, a team that I've been following for much of this season. The 6 seed in this region, Wisconsin, another team I'm not very high on, taking on either Virginia or St. John's. I don't like Virginia either. Their defense is solid, as Virginia programs always are, but their offense is not good, like very, very, very poor. St. John's would be the team, I think, out of all these three that has the most upside. 3 seed in this region, Kentucky taking on Charleston. Kentucky, I know that defense is a problem, and it is a problem. It's not as bad as Bama, but it does put a bit of a handicap on what they can do. However, that offense might be good enough to take them to the Final Four. Like, it's clicking so well, and that win over Tennessee is massive. The 7 seed, my favorite co-host, Moses Firmino, the 7 seed Boise State Broncos taking on TCU and the Horned Frogs. This would be a tough matchup. Boise State looking to get that win comfortably in the field, coming off a big victory against San Diego State. When we last looked at the bracket, they were an 8 seed, so that win put them from an 8 to a 7 now. 2 seed in this region. Interesting by Lunardi. Still has North Carolina. He still has Tennessee as the 1 seed. It's really going to be interesting to see how that final 1 seed pans out, because UConn, Purdue, and Houston, they can all lose in the first round in the first game of their conference tournament. Doesn't matter. They're the 1 seed, and they're going to get to play in the region that they want. That fourth 1 seed is now comes down to 3 teams. Comes down to North Carolina, who, to me, if I had to pick right now, it would be them. Tennessee, who I like the most, but that loss to Kentucky definitely hurts. And then Arizona. If you had to, in a hypothetical, right, say Tennessee wins the SEC, North Carolina wins the ACC, Zona wins the Pac-12. Zona has the most difficult path to get the 1 seed, because their conference path is the easiest. Like, they can beat a WSU as a tournament team. They can beat a Colorado who is a bubble team, but the teams that Tennessee and North Carolina can beat are way more impressive resume-wise. So Arizona has to win the conference tourney to become a 1 to me. Tennessee and North Carolina, it's going to really come down to what they do in the ACC and SEC, respectively. Perfect transition now. The 1 seed in the West region, Tennessee would take on Merrimack or Longwood. I think Longwood, kind of felt like a lock to be a 16. I'm curious to see if their play improved them to a 15. Kind of a smaller storyline to follow when the bracket is revealed. 8 seed in this region, Northwestern taking on Oklahoma. I like both of those teams, but I really love this draw for Tennessee, especially when you compare it to what Purdue has with Texas and FAU. I think that's way, 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 way harder than Northwestern or Oklahoma in the West. 5 seed here, BYU, who, according to Lunardi, would be playing in Salt Lake, so that's a nice home court feel for them. Going up against James Madison, who, like I said earlier, has their conference chip today. Could be a big victory there. Auburn as a 4 seed, a team that I really like, but I don't know if they can string 6 wins against 6 really good teams back to back to back to back to back. They just haven't shown me that they can do that yet. Only 1 quad 1 victory, but going into the SEC, they have the opportunity to obviously improve that. Samford as a 13, I actually think this would be a trendy pick. Samford and James Madison both have their conference chips today. Samford would probably be a trendy pick. I know I would definitely consider them potentially beating Auburn. Excuse me, needed a little water for the throat. The 6 seed in this region, Mountain West very own Nevada, going up against Grand Canyon. Be a hell of a matchup. Grand Canyon obviously having to win their conference tournament to get in. 3-seeded Baylor against 14-seed Oakland. Tough game for Baylor to start out. This is kind of a tough path, regardless. So it would definitely be interesting. I like this Baylor team. They are younger in terms of Jacoby Walter and Misi, 2 future NBA guys who I love, but they're freshmen. Normally, I'm looking for those veteran teams to go further. That's always the deciding factor for me. 7 seed in this region, My Gonzaga Bulldogs taking on 10-seeded Drake. Oh my god, that would be one of my favorite games of the tournament first round. Even if I wasn't a Zags fan, that would just be a battle of mid-major schools going at it. The 2 seed Arizona obviously still has hopes of a 1. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out. The 15 seed will not be Eastern. My very own Eastern Washington Eagles got upset yet again. So that's back-to-back years of being the 1 seed in the Big Sky and then losing their opening game. So whoever wins the Big Sky will not be the Eags. Could be Weber State. That would probably be my pick. Montana State. Obviously not teams to, ignore as well. But I think Arizona handles business regardless. Now, to end the video, the last region, we have the South. Houston taking on South Dakota State. Houston with the best defense in college basketball and an offense that can keep up, man. Jamal Shed is my favorite player in the country. It's going to be interesting to see how far that Houston team goes. I think they feel, and it's March Madness, but they feel like they're Sweet 16 proof. Like, regardless of matchup, you're probably just going to have them at minimum go Sweet 16, maybe even Elite 8 without really, really feeling gross about it at all. That's a really good team. The 8 seed in this region, St. Mary's, taking on 9 seed Nebraska. St. Mary's falling. Winning the WCC would obviously really improve their resume. Nebraska is a bit of a home court hero, so a little scary there, but I do like that squad. So will be a tough one when the bracket is out to see where the Huskers land. The 5 seed in this region, you have San Diego State taking on 12 seed Princeton. I love Princeton out of the Ivy. Going to be a dangerous team. That's a tough draw for San Diego State, but I love the defense as it has become a staple, and Ledee is a guy who can give you 25 any night. 4 seed Illinois against 13 seed UC Irvine. Illinois, a team I love. Elite 8 upside, maybe Final Four, maybe. The Fighting Illini are a team I've really grown on in this last month. 6 seed in this region, WSU, taking on Mississippi State. 2 teams falling down the bracket a little bit. Hoping to correct Mississippi State, a bubble team. WSU, good in the field, no doubt there. 3 seed here, Creighton taking on 14 seed Morehead State, who won their region. Or their conference tournament, excuse me. And then 7 seed Texas Tech taking on 10 seed Colorado State, 2 seed Marquette, 15 seed Quinnipiac. I will say right now, I love this draw for Texas Tech. They're a team I'm really starting to like. They were doing really well, suffered some tough losses, and now we're kind of bouncing back to the team at the start of the year. Could be a dangerous team. If this was the real bracket, I would have them come out and going to the Sweet 16 there as a 7 seed, defeating Marquette and Colorado State, obviously, in the first round. 2 seed Marquette, they can't make a 1 seed, at serious risk of falling to a 3 seed, depending on how they play in the Big East. Biggest storyline, is Tyler Kolek healthy? Is he not? If he's not, I'm not taking this team to win more than 1 game. Like, unless they get an incredible path, this path would be difficult. 2 seed at risk of falling to a 3. 3 is their floor, though. That is it, though, for the bracket. Quick note as well, something I didn't bring up before. Arizona and Gonzaga meeting would be really cool. Tommy Lloyd, for those of you who don't know, was an assistant at Gonzaga under Mark Few. Went, and Arizona has been great since he has taken over. Just signed an extension there. This would be the first time that Few and Lloyd would square off, and there's no better place for them to do so than March Madness. I would love to see that. And I'm hoping in years to come that it will become like a back and forth regular season game as well. That's it, though. That is the entire March Madness breakdown for all of you. I appreciate all of you for tuning in. We've still got plenty of videos to go. This will probably be my last March Madness video solo. Mo was loving them, but he was super busy getting ready for exams and things like that. So I knocked this one out solo dolo, as Kid Cudi would say. If you watched the whole video, if you were skipping around, I appreciate you. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Let me know some of your sleepers. Let me know some teams you think are overrated. Give me your hot takes. I love hearing hot takes now because you're dropping them early. You're dropping them before a bracket. So if it hits, you get to come back like, yeah, I called that. Um, that's the video. I appreciate y'all. Have an amazing rest of your day. Brackets in less than a week. Cannot wait to keep creating content around March Madness. Catch y'all in the next video, and peace.